What's up everybody, Commander Sanctum here, and today we have a brand new deck tech using Saheeli Radiant Creator. Saheeli is a 4/4 human artificer for 1 green blue red, and has, whenever you cast an artifact or artificer spell, you get 2 energy, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature and has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. When I saw this card revealed, I immediately thought of one, rather obscure, ability that works perfectly with Saheeli's abilities: modular. For those who don't know, modular is a keyword ability from Darksteel that shows up strictly on artifacts and makes the artifacts enter the battlefield with a certain number of 1/1 counters on it equal to its modular number. When the creature dies, you may move its +1/+1 counters on to another target artifact creature. Most creatures with modular are base 0/0, meaning whatever their modular number is what their power and toughness will be. However, since Saheeli makes tokens that are base 5/5s, the modular creatures will enter like normal, with however many +1/+1 counters on them, but will be increased by 5 power and toughness due to the token's base size. The sacrifice at the end step ability from Saheeli also works in our favor, since the modular counters from the token will then be moved to another artifact creature, making that creature even bigger. Modular creatures are also all artifacts, which means they even trigger Saheeli's energy generation effect. Modular is basically the perfect ability to pair with Saheeli, so for this deck tech, we'll pair them with more energy generation effects to make sure we can consistently create these tokens each turn. With that, let's get into the card highlights. Modular is not a very widely used mechanic, so we only have a few options to choose from. In fact, in this color combination, there are only 19 cards with modular. We'll disregard 2 of them, one which is an unstable card and thus illegal, and the other that has modular Sunburst, which doesn't work with the token generation. Beyond that, almost all of the modular cards start with the word Arcbound. Since we're limited on cards, we'll include all of them in the deck, with some being much better than others. Of the Arcbound creatures, we have Bruiser, Crusher, Fiend, Hybrid, Lancer, Overseer, Ravager, Reclaimer, Slasher, Slith, Stinger, Tracker, Whelp, and Worker. As you'll see, some of these are much better than others, but since they have modular, they'll all work with our overall theme. Beyond the Arcbound cards, we also have 2 newer cards in Blaster Combat DJ and Scrapyard Recombiner. While Scrapyard Recombiner's ability will have limited use in the deck, there are some useful constructs we'll be including, so it may come in handy in some situations. Blaster Combat DJ is actually very good, as modular effects stack. While the tokens won't benefit from his ability, the real Arcbound cards will, meaning they'll trigger their own modular alongside the modular 1 effect from Blaster, giving them an extra counter. Plus, the backside card, Blaster Morale Booster, is an excellent way to get more counters onto creatures, or even move ones if they're about to be exiled rather than killed, which wouldn't trigger the modular move effect. In order to get consistent token generation with Saheeli, we'll need energy generation. And while she does it effectively herself, it's better to have a backup plan to rack up as much as we can. With that, we have a few cards that generate energy when they or another permanent enter the battlefield. Rogue Refiner and Whirler Virtuoso give us 2 and 3 energy when they enter, respectively, with Rogue giving us a card as well. Whirler Virtuoso also acts as a secondary energy dump if Saheeli is being consistently removed, and is even an artificer, which means it triggers Saheeli's ability. Decoction Module nets us an energy whenever a creature we control enters, which includes Saheeli's token, and can act as good removal protection with its bounce ability if need be. We also have cards that give us more energy whenever it's created. Aether Refinery doubles the energy we create, while Izzet Generatorium has a Hardened Scales effect, where we get an additional energy instead. The Refinery even generates us an energy, which is then doubled by its own effect, making it a great way to get some additional energy on a turn to feed into Saheeli. Izzet Generatorium lets us draw a card if we paid at least 4 energy that turn. Unfortunately, this is 1 more than Saheeli's ability requires, so it doesn't synergize perfectly, but it shouldn't be too hard to pump an extra energy into something to get the card draw. There are also cards that generate us energy whenever a land enters, which is something we'll be naturally doing throughout the game anyways. Architect of the Untamed and Royal Cartographer both give us an energy on landfall, and both have additional energy dumps if we need them. The Architect could give us a 6/6 Beast artifact for 8 energy, while the Cartographer could draw us 3 cards for 6 energy. Both of these are rather significant costs, and likely won't be activated too frequently in this deck, but they're good fallbacks in case we need to use them. Besides, the main reason we want these cards are for their landfall abilities, so these other abilities are basically just free additional value. To wrap up our energy generation effects, we have Aetherworks Marvel, Lightning Runner, and Gonti's Aether Heart. The Marvel acts as a to the graveyard trigger, giving us an energy whenever this occurs. It's important to remember too that tokens go to the graveyard before being exiled, so the Saheeli tokens will generate an energy on death. Gonti's Heart does something similar but in reverse. Whenever it or another artifact enters, you get 2 energy. You can also pay 8 energy and exile it to take another turn. While this is a heavy cost, it may come in clutch in certain situations, making it a decent energy dump if you need it. Finally, there's Lightning Runner, which gives you 2 energy on attack. The best part about Lightning Runner is that, if you have enough energy, you could get an additional combat phase, which means you'll get another Saheeli token trigger. Granted, this does cost a ton of energy to do, but if you have a huge surplus, this will be an absolutely phenomenal dump to use. Admittedly, most of the modular creatures are rather expensive from a mana cost perspective. The byproduct of being from an older set, where there wasn't quite as much power creep as there is today. To help counteract this, we have a number of creatures that can reduce the cost of artifacts we cast. Ethereum Sculptor, Enthusiastic Mechanaut, and Foundry Inspector all reduce artifact spells by 1 colorless mana. They also benefit from being artifacts themselves, and even artificers for 2 of them, which mean they all trigger Saheeli's energy generation. Not to mention, there are some modular creatures that only cost 1 or 2, so if you get a few of these bad boys out on the field, some of them will be completely free. Finally, we have some overall utility cards that work well to get us as much energy as possible. Attune with Aether is your typical land ramp spell that has the added benefit of generating us 2 energy when resolved. Solar Transformer is also ramp in the form of a mana rock that nets us a nice 3 energy when it enters, and can even help fix mana by letting us pay an energy to transform it into a mana of any color. Electro Siphon is a decent counterspell that converts the spell's CMC into energy for you. While it's not the most easily cast counterspell, it can be a great way to get a rush of energy all at once, especially if it counters some huge spell or, in a best case scenario, an X spell that an opponent pumped all their mana into. Card draw is important in any deck, and this one is no exception. Thankfully, there are actually some card draw spells that also generate energy, making them a double whammy of exactly what we want. Glimmer of Genius is all about 2s, 2 scries, 2 card draws, and 2 energy, all for 4 mana. Tune the Narrative gets us a single card plus 2 energy, all for 1 blue mana, making it a very cost-effective spell for us energy-wise. Here's an example deck list utilizing all the previously mentioned cards. Additional cards include more synergistic card draw in Thopter Spine Network and Joyra Weatherlight Captain, some additional energy generation in Bespoke Battlewagon and Helios 1, and artifact-based ramped in Solemn Simulacrum and Burnished Heart. Also, for those who may have been counting, I only listed off 16 modular cards when I stated there were 17. The last one is actually a land in Power Depot. Admittedly, it's unlikely that its modular counter will ever be moved to an artifact creature since your opponents are unlikely to destroy it, but you never know. Plus, you can technically target it with Saheeli's ability, making it a 5/5 artifact land with modular 1, so it still fits well with the overall theme. I'll be honest, I think this is one of my favorite decks I've made for this channel so far. The synergy between modular and Saheeli is so undeniably strong that it's hard to not be excited by the deck. Sure, modular in and of itself isn't the most powerful ability in the world, nor are the cards that actually have it since they're so old that power creep is a real thing. But you can't deny how cool of a theme this is and how cohesive it really is. It would be so easy to just make this a generic artifact or even artificer deck, since the token can be a copy of any permanent. But being able to find a theme that works and works well is so cool to me. Decks like this is exactly why I love to make deck techs. Being able to explore those super niche themes that are so unique and out there, but yet still function as an actual deck, is what excites me most about doing this. Again, this won't be some sort of CEDH level deck by any means, but it's something that will work while also being flashy and unique. If you're someone who also enjoys unique or hyper synergistic themes, give this deck a try. I know that I will for sure be making this one of my personal decks for years to come. I hope you enjoyed watching this deck tech on Saheeli Radiant Creator. The full deck list outlined in this video can be found at the Arcbound link at the top of the description. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a like and comment, as well as subscribe to the channel for more Magic content. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.